Welcome to Smells Like Smoke. My name is Trevor DeVage. I am your host for this podcast where we talk about what does it look like to live out Jude 23 by rescuing others, by snatching them from the flames of judgment. And the whole premise of this podcast is if you don't smell like smoke, maybe you're not getting close enough to hell to get people out. So let me start with a confession that might sound familiar to you. A lot of us are tired of working on ourselves. Not because we don't care, not because we're lazy, but because we've tried so many things and we still feel the same. I don't know if you resonate with that. Maybe you've read the books, you've listened to the podcast, you've changed the routines, you tracked the habits, you adjusted the mindset, and some of it helped, but something deeper never changed. See, today we're talking about self-help that never heals. Not because growth is bad, not because therapy is useless. I think both of those are great things. Not because wellness is wrong. None of that is true, but because improvement is not the same thing as transformation. And a lot of us, especially the men that are listening to this, we're improving while still bleeding. So why does this matter? See, this matters because our culture is obsessed with optimization. Things like be better, do more, think clearer, perform stronger, all of those things. Everything is about upgrading your life. And on the surface, that sounds so healthy. But underneath it, many people feel this quiet frustration. And it's this: why am I still angry? Why do I still feel empty? Why do I keep going back to the same patterns over and over and over? Because not everything that improves you actually heals you. And if you confuse the two, you can spend your whole life managing symptoms without even touching the wound that is inside you. So what is the appeal of self-help? If you go to any major bookstore, Barnes & Noble, let's talk about that. You go to Barnes & Noble, the self-help section is massive. What's the appeal? Well, let's be fair. Self-help is appealing because it promises control. If I do the steps, I get the results. If I follow the plan, I fix the problem. If I master my mindset, I master my life. That's what it promises. Now, ladies, I know there's some of you like, you talk a lot about men on this podcast. You're right. I do, because I believe that men desperately need help. Not that women don't. All these principles apply across the board. But here's what I know about this self-help thing of mastering my life. Men like that. It feels measurable. It feels predictable. It feels safe. And some of it genuinely helps. Seriously helps. Good therapy can bring great clarity. I'm a big fan of therapy. Been going to a therapist myself for years. Healthy habits can bring stability. Discipline can bring order. Like, I go to the gym every day because it's a healthy habit that stabilizes me, and it's a discipline that brings order in my life. Those things matter, but here is the limit. There's a limit on all these things. They work best on the surface. So where does self-help help? Well, let me say this clearly. Therapy can help you understand patterns. Wellness can regulate your body. Mindset, the work of your mind, can help reframe thoughts. And those are good tools. They help you. Like, you can name what is happening. You can build awareness. You can create healthier rhythms. They're not enemies. But tools are not cures. Let me say that again. Tools are not cures. They can stabilize you, but they cannot resurrect you. Let me repeat that one more time. These tools are not cures. They can stabilize you, but they cannot resurrect you. And a lot of people confuse stability with healing. Now, that's where self-help helps, but where does self-help fail? Well, here's where it breaks down. If you want to get real practical about it, self-help assumes the problem is something that you can fix. But some things are not broken systems. In fact, they go beyond that. They're actually broken hearts. See, shame is not a habit. Fear is not a mindset. Sin is not a productivity issue. Wounds are not solved by routines. You can't outthink trauma. You say that again. You can't outthink trauma. You can't optimize your way out of guilt. You can't habit stack your way into peace. At some point, the issue is not information. It's transformation. And a lot of us, we have a lot of information, but we haven't experienced transformation. I've sat with numerous men in Tucson who could quote every leadership book on the shelf. They knew the language, they knew the framework, they knew the hacks, and it all sounds good, but they were still reactive, still distant, still exhausted. They were managing life, but they weren't healing their soul. One man said it like this to me recently. He said, I keep fixing the outside and wondering why the inside still hurts. See, that sentence is everywhere. I hear it all the time. So why do we as men love hacks? Men love hacks because hacks avoid vulnerability. Hacks let you stay in control. Hacks let you avoid asking for help. Hacks let you bypass your pain. Healing does not. Healing requires honesty. It requires surrender. It requires time. And that's uncomfortable. So we reach for tools instead of truth. So what does improvement versus transformation really look like? Like, let's define the difference for a minute. Improvement changes behavior. Transformation changes desire. Let me say that again. Improvement changes behavior. Transformation changes desire. So improvement teaches you how to cope. Transformation heals what you're coping with. Improvement then manages symptoms, but transformation addresses the source of those symptoms. Improvement says things like, try harder. Transformation says things like, come alive. See, both involve effort. Only one involves surrender. So think about Jesus and healing. Jesus did not come to offer tips in self-help. He did not hand out productivity plans. He didn't preach mindset hacks. That's not what Jesus did. You know what Jesus did? He offered healing. And when Jesus met people, he didn't ask, how can I help you perform better? That wasn't his question. He asked questions like, what do you want? Do you want to be well? See, that question still matters. I would ask you today, do you want to get well? Because not everyone wants healing. Because healing disrupts routines, and healing exposes pain, and healing requires change. But here's the other thing healing does. It restores life. I have a friend right now that is battling through a major health issue. One of my best friends on the planet. He's got a rare disease that is attacking his body. He's lost use of his legs and some other parts of his body for a season. And you know what? He's going through a lot of pain, but if the pain restores life, then the pain's worth it. He doesn't need self-help. He needs healing. So why is surrender the missing piece? Because here's what self-help avoids. Surrender. It avoids surrender. Self-help says, I can fix this. Jesus says, let me heal this. We live in a self-help world, but we need a Jesus soul. Those are very different postures. Surrender does not mean passivity either. I think we think that sometimes. It actually means trust. It means admitting that some things are beyond your ability, my ability to fix. And especially for men, that's hard because we're fixers. We're taught to solve problems and fix the issues, not confess weaknesses. But see, transformation begins where control ends. Let me say it again. Transformation begins where control ends. So where do we actually need healing? Let me name a few places. At least men often need healing, not hacks. Unresolved anger. See, that usually comes from hurt, not stress. Or how about chronic anxiety? That often comes from the fear of loss, not poor planning. How about addictive behaviors? That often comes from pain, not a lack of discipline. I know plenty of guys that have addictive things in their life that want to get out of it, and they try to get disciplined, but the pain is what they haven't dealt with. Or how about this one? Emotional numbness. See, that often comes from disappointment, not laziness. And if you treat wounds like performance issues, they only get deeper. So maybe there's a better question we should ask. Instead of asking, how do I fix this? What if we ask this? What needs healing inside of me? See, that question shifts everything in our souls. It moves you from management to restoration, from effort to honesty, from control to trust. So let's get real practical. Let's identify healing and not hacks. If we're to really lean into the practicality, here are 3 questions worth sitting with this week. And maybe you need to write these down. So here's the first one. What am I trying to manage instead of heal? Like, write that down and answer that honestly. What are you trying to manage in your life instead of heal? Or maybe this one. What pain am I avoiding by staying busy? See, if you just fill your life with enough busyness, you don't have to deal with the pain. Or how about this one? Where have I improved without actually changing? Ooh, that's a tough one. Where have I improved without actually changing? And I would say, don't rush these. Go back, pause if you have to, write down those 3 questions again. Because healing will start with naming your reality. So what does this mean for rescue? This whole podcast is how do we rescue others? This matters for rescue work in a big way. And let me tell you why. People who are not healing tend to pass their wounds on to others. Let me say it again. People who are not healing tend to pass their wounds on to others. So hurt people don't just hurt people. They try to fix people. And fixing is not rescuing. Rescuers come from a place of wholeness, not control. So when we allow God to heal us, we become a safe place for others to land in their pain. So what is the role then of community? Healing rarely happens alone. Well, why do I talk about men so much here? Men are typical isolators. See, self-help isolates, but healing connects. You need people who know you, people who see you, people who are allowed to ask hard questions of your life. Like just this last week, I've talked about my mentor group of guys. We've been journeying through life together for 13 years. Twice a year, we get together at a cabin and just speak into each other's life. And we ask hard questions. We know the intimacies of one another's lives. We know the good, the bad, the ugly. We celebrate, we mourn, and we call out. See, that's not weakness. What I'm learning is that's wisdom. Jesus healed people in community, not in isolation. So here's the hope. Because some of you are looking for hope right now. And here's what I need to tell you. You are not broken beyond repair. You're not failing because your hacks did not work. You were just asking the wrong thing to do the wrong job. You're asking the wrong thing to do the wrong job. Jesus does not offer improvement. He offers new life. And new life changes everything. So let me give you a closing challenge. Here's your challenge this week. Is if you really stop chasing another hack and you instead take one step towards healing. Have the conversation, name the wound, invite God into the place you keep trying to manage. Put other people around you. Improvement might make life easier, but transformation is going to make it new. What if we look for transformation instead of information? Well, this smells like smoke. And we're learning to spot the counterfeits that promise growth but never heal so that we can actually help heal others. And next episode, we're going to talk about spotting wolves without becoming one, and why discernment requires humility. So let me say this to you today. If you love Smells Like Smoke, do me a favor, share this anywhere you listen to this, put it on your social media. You can also follow us along on our Smells Like Smoke pod on Instagram. You can go follow us in all those places. Interact with us on any of your place, Spotify. I know you can ask questions. You can leave comments. We would love to interact with you. But do me a favor. Do not settle for coping. Choose healing and stay close to the fire. We'll be back next week with another episode of Smells Like Smoke.